Hello.
Hello.
We're here.
Hi.
We're back. It's Friday. No,
Time
it's
for
not.
the show.
I don't know if you guys know this, but it's not Friday when this is being recorded for once. Well, actually,
So early though.
it happens on
in the
occasion.
week.
But with that being said, we're keeping our promise, and we are doing this Halloween theme month, because what better month to do a Halloween theme than fucking October?
You know, you're right, Grant.
It's perfect.
I couldn't agree more.
It's the perfect time to do it. And what we are doing today is one of the Mac Daddies of the spooky, scary
the
universe.
supernatural realm is it would.
That would be the talking board or the Ouija board.
The Ouija or Ouija,
Yeah. I want to.
whichever one you subscribe to.
I just want to get this out now because it's going to be. I don't want it to confuse us later in the show.
What?
It's a Ouija board. It's like a hot tub in that sense, where
Yeah.
the jacuzzi. It's like, oh, I'm gonna hop in the jacuzzi. A jacuzzi is a brand of hot tub, just like a Ouija board is a brand of the talking board or the spirit board.
Yeah.
So
It's like a fingers thumbs thing.
Yeah.
You know, like not all talking boards are Ouija board.
No, yeah,
boards,
exactly.
But all Ouija boards are talking boards. You know.
So the Ouija board or the Ouija board, or Ouija, if that's your thing,
Ouija.
they've taken on a name of its own because it was a very popular type of talking board. So it just kind of took off. That's what we all know it as now.
Yeah,
It's
branded. It was branded.
It's a lot cooler than saying the talking board. It's the Ouija board. It's an eerie word. It's spooky.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, what is that?
You know.
Can interact with that real quick.
And we and ja. Hello, goodbye.
That's not right, is it?
I don't know about the ja. That's what I was.
It's German and French for both. Yes, so
Is it?
oui
Okay.
and ja.
Okay, yeah, I had the
So
words
it's- yeah.
incorrect, but I knew that it was a culmination of two words.
Yes, French and German.
I just
best
wanted to
of
say that
friends.
now because I felt like that would get confusing. For like the Ouija board is actually just this board, but it's a Ouija board. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
I kind of separated in the notes a little bit, but like it's still, yeah, I just say talking board or the Ouija.
Yeah,
does this
The
like that
Ouija.
kind of thing.
But yeah,
anyway.
it's a really cool episode. I actually have a personal story that I'd find kind of interesting, so I'm going to tell it. And but we'll get to that later. Don't
Let's
even
do a
worry about
little background.
Yeah,
on,
let's
on the
learn-
Ouija.
Let's learn what this board is.
Yeah.
What is it?
Start
All
from the
right.
beginning, right? It's the Ouija board. It's otherwise known as a spirit board or a talking board, like we said.
Or
Right.
the spooky dookie bookie dookie board.
That was crazy.
That's the
I
other
love
name.
that. All right,
That's what I call it.
that should be. You got to record that.
That
And
was
do
like
it and
the-
put it as our outro.
That was like to the theme of like the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B. It's like 1940s like army song.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Really, you've never? I don't even know what
I've
the name
never
of
heard
is.
that. It just sounded like the
He's-
most beach, like 50s
That's like the thing is,
dancingest thing in the
He's
world.
the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B. I don't know any of the other parts
Wow.
of that song, but I know that.
You just have to have great diction to be able to to say that successfully.
Oh,
That's
the Boogie
awesome.
Woogie Boy? It's not that hard.
Ah,
Boogie Woogie Boy.
talking fast is not my forte.
Okay, that was sorry for the derailment there.
Yeah, the Ouija board, right? All right. They are flat rectangular boards with a with the 26 letters of the alphabet, right? Numbers 0 through 9. The words yes, no, don't know, and sometimes the words hello, goodbye. Sometimes a mistake is on there. They're all in different locations of the
Yeah.
board.
All the boards are different. I would say at least
Everyone's seen one, right?
for us now, since probably the 60s till now, your typical setup is numbers, hello, goodbye, or the sun and the moon,
Yeah,
and hello, goodbye with yes and no.
yeah,
So that's our layout now.
yeah.
We've kind of, doctored it up because it's sold by the same company that makes, fucking Trouble.
Trouble. You're right. We'll get to that. But all right. So friggin', it has all those words on it. The participants are meant that they're all supposed to place their finger and or two fingers, maybe both their hands, on a planchette which is a small heart-shaped piece of wood or plastic with a small transparent circle of glass in the center.
Oh, yeah.
And this is used to spell out messages during seances. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ouija boards are known mostly due to Hollywood portrayals of them to be like a dark and evil tool that's used and leads to demonic possession or hauntings, among other things. Right?
Yeah.
But where did it come from? That's what it is, but where did it come from?
Some wild man in the woods who was using a sack of potatoes as a pair of pants, and he was eating horse meat.
Potatoes are in there still?
He was drinking mustard seed water, and he was insane.
Just mustard, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it is.
Liquid mustard. That's what he was drinking. But yeah, I don't know. That's my guess.
No, yeah, I mean this guy. We'll get to him. He might have done that. He actually kind of is a good candidate for that. All right. So using a Ouija board, right, is means of psychography.
Ooh.
Psychographs, psychography, right? Or automatic writing, as others might know it as.
Yeah,
All
talk
right.
about some Insidious, baby. That's what she was doing.
Hell yeah.
She was direct source. She was the cocaine to crack. You know,
No, she
It's
definitely
like,
was. Dude,
crack is Ouija board. She was like, just give me the pure sweet blow, baby. Just let me inhale it.
dude, we have to watch those movies like this month.
I like those
Before
movies.
Halloween. I need to go back to those.
The first two are awesome. I honestly don't remember the third one.
The third one was hit or miss.
I don't remember.
It was
that the one with like
fine.
the little girl?
Yeah, I think.
Or not like she was like a
I
teenager.
think there's children in all of them.
Okay, well, but she was like the main one. She like broke her legs or something.
I think. See, we need to watch them. I don't
Maybe
know.
not that one, but the first two are good.
Anyway,
I've watched those.
yeah. So Ouija board, using it is basically a form of automatic writing or psychography, and that dates back. Like early signs of it were in 1100 A.D. China, during the Song Dynasty.
Ooh, that's my favorite of the dynasties.
It's my favorite one. I can maybe
They
pronounce
wrote
it.
the
I'm probably
Boogie Woogie
pronouncing
Bugle
it.
Boy from Company B. I've been trying to tell you this.
Flying purple people eater guys
I'm
just in the back.
I'm
Like-
giving the Song Dynasty complete credit for that song that they had nothing to do with. Just accept it.
There you go. Okay, you got it. And so it was from there, 1100 AD China. Insane. It's a claimed psychic ability. Automatic writing is. It's a claimed psychic ability that allows an individual to write words without being conscious of what is being written. Right. These words are said to have been produced from a spiritual subconscious or a supernatural place. The earliest practice of this was called Fuji, which is cool. That's the name of a mountain in Japan, I'm pretty sure, Mount Fuji.
And it's a type of apple.
And it is a type of apple.
Fuji
It's
apple.
a pretty good one.
I like Fuji apples.
Fuji apples, yeah. Wait, what is it? Granny Smith, that's the best one.
That's Granny Smith. That's the big one.
Yeah.
Was it Golden Delicious? I think that's the other one.
Those are just delicious.
Those are the big ones that you see.
Yeah. So, but apparently Fuji translates to planchette writing, I guess. Methods similar to this have been documented throughout history since then, in ancient Rome, ancient India, Greece, medieval Europe, throughout history. The word planchette, if we're getting into that little thing that you use for the psychography, the planchette translates from French into little board. So isn't that fun?
Interesting.
There's no documented creator of this tool necessarily. Apparently some people have just kind of called themselves like whatever planchette and just claim to have made it. But that never holds up. It's just a lot of people trying to get attention on the streets, I think.
I'll tell you this. We did a homemade one once, and it worked.
So just anyone can do this.
We did it with a piece of cardboard paper. Well, not cardboard paper. It's cardboard. And a shot glass.
Just thick paper.
I'll get into the workings of it later.
Yeah.
But
right. So
at the time,
pretty easy. It's just like
it was utilized. It worked.
All right. So yeah. It's known, however, that this early versions of the planchette, rather than having a transparent glass piece in the center of it, actually had a small hole for a pencil. So the actual planchette was the thing writing, as it was being moved rather than it spelling something out with locale. You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? All right.
Yeah.
So the first incarnation of what is now known as the Ouija board came out during the spiritualism movement. You want to know about the spiritualism movement?
Yeah, hit me with
It came out of the burned-over district of upstate New York. So they got the East Coast going on in the 1840s. It asserted, spiritualism that is, that the spirits of the dead live on and have both the ability and the desire to communicate with the living. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is good. Spiritualism, theoretically, on the surface. Post-Civil War, the majority of Americans had lost loved ones, right? That's just a fact of life.
Sure.
And in that grief...
Something everyone will encounter.
It's true. It's terrible. Isn't that spooky? In that grief, right, for many people, many chose to utilize the variations of talking boards coming from the spiritualists in an attempt to gain some sort of closure, right? It just makes sense. You're just like, all right, he left like 3 months ago. We just got a letter. He's dead. Be nice to talk to him one more time, you know? You know, it just makes sense.
Yeah, it would.
All right, where are we? All right. The use of these talking boards in America, right? They became such a phenomenon. News outlets began printing stories about them and their astounding prevalence. And there's one specific one that we were looking at from 1886, which is crazy. 1886 is 4 years before the Ouija board was patented. What is now known.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right. So, with spiritualists, right, you had those who truly believed in what they were, preaching. And just like with any group, there were also many people within the movement that were merely looking to make as much money as they could, preying on those in mourning. So, because of this, the price to purchase an early talking board, which was like an enormous thing. It was basically a table made of like cast iron. Like they were crazy. And so, like the cost of actually getting one of those or holding a seance, it cost so much that it was just reserved for the very wealthy at the time, right? That is until three non-spiritualists... three non-spiritualist men, Elijah J. Bond, Charles W. Kennard, and a coffin maker named E.C. Reich. They collaborated in creating the Ouija board. Yeah.
I like that. I like those names, too.
Dude, Reich, it's not... Yeah. Kennard, kind of reminds you of Andy Bernard.
Andrew Bernard. The Nard Dog.
Yeah, Kennard Dog. Dude, alright, so Reich, this guy, he was like an avid occultist. He was a coffin maker. He was right on brand to make the Ouija. Avid occultist. He'd seen what the spiritualists were doing at the time and thought it was ridiculous that they were asking spirits to interact with the living using such an enormous and heavy board. So he was like concerned for the spirits like lifting of the table to shake it around.
Uh-huh.
You're just like they're gonna throw out their backs or something. And so he designed the Ouija board to be small and reasonable, about the size of an average board game board, right? And then he kind of just disappears outside of the designing of this iconic and revamped spiritual tool. Reich simply disappears from the narrative after this point.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Leaves.
He's gone. Now it's down to Kennard and Bond. When the Ouija board reached its final form, Bond and Kennard founded the Kennard Novelty Company, which is, that sounds awesome.
It sounds like
it's a good name.
It's just like Hasbro. It's just a different last name, Kennard. So it just sounds funny.
Just
like
any sort of novelty company, though. It's just like you just make novelties. That's sick. But so it is. So Bond, Bond and Kennard started the novelty company, and then Bond filed for a patent on May 28th of 1890. And to prove that the creation actually worked, they had to take the Ouija board into the patent office, and he and Kennard demonstrated it for the clerk, who was like, "Oh, all right." That's pretty terrifying, actually. Yeah, it
It's
works.
funny because I was reading about that, actually, the patent process, and it was kind of funny because the patent office wanted solutions. Like, they were like, how does it work? Like, tell us, come on, we need to know how it works if we're going to give you the patent.
We're like, we can't. It's a portal to talk to people in other dimensions. It's like,
And the only
okay.
thing they sold it as was, we have no idea how it works. All we know is that it does work, and that's why they showed it
will
to 'em.
continue to work.
So
No batteries.
There's no technical patent on any technology. It's just the name and design,
The literal,
really.
just the design, yeah. And the planchette that comes with it. That's all it is.
I thought that was interesting.
It was
it
hilarious,
doesn't
dude.
work, but it always works.
Can you imagine taking a Ouija board, like, anywhere in public? Like, here's how it works, okay?
Let me show you.
Let me show you. Let me school you on this. So yeah, they demonstrated it for the clerk. He got it. He got it by February 10th of the following year. So in 1891, right? And the patent belonged to Bond. So he was credited with the creation of the Ouija. Good for him, right? The two began mass producing the boards and selling them for $1.50 each, which in today's money would be $42.84.
They are definitely cheaper than that now.
Yes, they very much are.
They're going for about half that.
Yeah. Oh God, dude, that is so much money for a board game.
It is, but I guess you could market
But they were
it as
selling,
more.
man. They were making. That just goes to show they were making a shit ton of money. But so Kennard, where did the name come from? For Ouija, that's the question in everyone's mind.
I believe you answered it earlier.
Everybody, yeah. But there's some other stuff, right? So Kennard, they're in business with it. They're just like, this is mine. I'm gonna name it. So Kennard, he claimed that the Ouija named itself in an early stage of its creation. When he was using it, it revealed its name to him. Right? He claimed
That's
that the
crazy.
word Ouija was an ancient Egyptian word meaning good luck. However, after only a year of production, a varnisher and foreman working at the Kennard Novelty Company named William Fuld, F-U-L-D.
F you too, Jake.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so rude.
Oh, yes. Fantastic. William Fuld, all right, he took over production of the Ouija boards. After a name change of the company to the Ouija Novelty Company, that's when he took over. He took over from Bond and Kennard. He overthrew them, usurped their position.
He took it away.
It's crazy. All right, so we're at the Ouija Novelty Company. He began rewriting the board's history as well with the new takeover. Fuld still claimed that the name Ouija came from the board itself, but that is a mere combination of French and German words for yes.
But Maury Povich
We
has
and
determined that to be a lie.
It's the most generally accepted one, basically. Many people to this day refer to the Ouija board as a yes board because they're just like, yeah, it's we and ja.
Ouija.
Ouija. But yeah. Oh God, I don't know. It's understood to be false. Either way, I don't know. Everything's crazy. Though it's widely accepted origin of the name today, Fuld has also begun to claim that he was the Ouija's creator. So he's just completely going over Bond's head
This
here.
is mine.
And Bond completely went over Reich's head, and he's just folded into the background. So many people lost to history. So after a few years of running the company, however, William Fuld accused his brother and partner Isaac of bad bookkeeping in the company's finances. That's going to cause a rift, all right? So William Fuld, he forces his brother out, and he went to change the company name once more to the Baltimore Talking Board Company. So he's just getting more generic sounding with this company
he's just
name.
trying to market. He's
Yeah.
like, all right, let's just make it accessible.
But, however, all of this drama surrounding the Ouija board's production company, it had no negative effect on the growing popularity of the sales, even despite the many imitators flooding the market. The Ouija remained resolute. They were on top. They always have been. the growing success of the Ouija only grew from that point, right? The sales spiked to unprecedented numbers following World War I for just the same reasons. People want to get some closure on their lost loved ones. So yeah, it was due to that. A lot of people deceased, just like in the Civil War, and this trend continues. Even to this day. So, like, whenever tragedy strikes, sales of Ouija boards skyrocket. Every time.
Interesting.
Look at the numbers. So anyway, in 1927, William Full died after falling from a 3-story building trying to repair a flagpole. Pretty stupid.
That's a way to go.
Yeah, and he did not die initially, but rather after, when he was on his way to the hospital and a broken rib pierced his heart. Maybe it's because he's defaming the Ouija. I don't know. But he's dead. Despite this, the company continued to do well for the better portion of the 20th century, and the company was sold to Parker Brothers, and that was then acquired by General Mills in 1968, and then that was acquired by Tonka in 1987, which was bought by Hasbro in 1991, and they still own the Ouija. So that's a little history lesson for you on the Ouija board. It gets around when it comes to companies. And, it was being bought by all these different companies, all this drama going on. Hasbro's probably in shambles, about to release it to another one. It seems to be cursed, huh?
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe.
So now what we move into is what the board is capable of. Now this really comes down to personal belief at this point. I mean, you have to have faith, I guess, in whatever your idea is. But it is pretty common that the Ouija board is used to communicate with supposedly the dead or even potentially demonic forces. I just want to take a moment here for all the people that aren't into the ghost hunting shows or this type of universe. The idea of a spirit would be someone who lived on Earth and died, and anything that was not once living on this Earth in physical form is pretty much just considered demonic because we don't quite understand what that is yet.
Probably some sort of alien soul, but yeah, just nothing that's lived on the planet.
With that being said, supposedly you can communicate with both. If you are a believer in the board, the best explanation I've ever gotten was from Doc, the guy who was on Pizzagate, the Franklin Cover-Up Part 1. Him and I had actually used a Ouija board once or twice, and the way he described it was like a phone to the dead. And his point was, as long as you go into it like you would a phone call. Let's say you're making a reservation, right? You don't call up and you're like, hey, bitch, get me a fucking table. It's like, hello, I'm looking to make a reservation. You're respectful. You're not rude. So they're going to be pleasant with you, whereas vice versa, if you were disrespectful, they would be unpleasant to you.
That's assuming it's a spirit, right?
Well, spirit, demonic entity, whatever it may be. I feel
like do unto others as you would have do unto them.
Kind of
something that demons would respect.
Well, no, his explanation is pretty much if you go into it with the intention of being a jerk or like a douche, then you're going to get bad results. But if you go into it, just out of plain curiosity and you're not rude or, hey, when did you die and how did you kill yourself? Like if you believe in it and you do it that way, typically you'll get better results because you're not an aggressive monster. That just goes for humanity.
Yeah, put that way. And like intent and will are like huge in magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Which has a lot to do with this. So there you go.
So this brings us to. It's very hard. The story that I'm going to tell. The reason I'm telling it is because there's millions and millions of stories that involve Ouija boards. So it's so hard to just pick one or two to give you the rundown. I want to give you a personal one because at least I could tell it because I was there, and give you some background,
It's fun.
But there's one thing that pops up in a lot of different stories here, and that would be Zozo. The name Zozo, that comes up a lot. If you're familiar with the Ouija board, you probably know that name. Hell, you probably know that we're going to talk about him and what we might even say. Because
just turn the podcast off.
Zozo is the supposed Ouija board demon. Z-O-Z-O is how it's spelled. On occasion, it's Z-O-S-O. And on even more rare occasions, it's Z-A-Z-A.
Yeah, there's a lot of different variations, but it's always like it starts with Z and it's just with 2 O's or double something.
Yeah. So Zozo is the supposed Ouija demon. He's called the demon because it's not believed that he was ever a spirit. This kind of gained traction in 2009 when this guy posted his first-hand experience with Zozo on to a ghost story sharing forum, I guess you'd call it. I don't know the exact site. It was pretty much he talked to Zozo. Zozo wanted to kill his family, and his daughter ended up needing to go to the hospital with this horrible infection that she got. Spooky stuff,
Jesus.
Then movies pick it up. In 2012 they made the I Am Zozo movie. Have not seen it, will not see it, because you know it's going to be terrible.
That. Jesus Christ. Are you sure you don't want to see it?
Absolutely not.
You don't want to try it out?
No, it's going to be so disappointing. I'm going to hate it.
I'm going to try it on for size.
So the name Zozo, you might be wondering, is this just a thing that happens in the Ouija board? Is it like a name? Blah, blah, blah. Hopefully this picture will become clear to you by the end. But we'll get into the details. Zozo has been a name that's shown up for about 200 or so years here in the world. One of the first instances of the name being used is in the 1816 book Dictionnaire Infernal by Colin de Plancy, where a young woman is possessed by 3 demons named Mimi, Capulet, and Zozo.
Capulet. That's awesome.
All right. So you got that going. The woman's possessed. The story goes that this Colin de Plancy guy, he was a hardcore skeptic, but he was very interested in the paranormal. That's just a little detail. I guess it doesn't really matter to you. More contemporary, I guess, modern searches, they speculate that Zozo is derived from the Mesopotamian god Pazuzu, who was also the demon in The Exorcist. And it's just a shortening of Pazuzu being, instead of Zuzu, it's Zozo. It's the same thing.
Yeah. It's just kind of like a slip. Your mind just goes there.
And then, even going back into the year 1521, in a banned occult book, the symbol with the etching ZOSO was the code for the god Saturn, and it appeared in this book.
Dude, isn't that...
that's where Jimmy Page...
Yeah, I was going to say, it's Jimmy Page's, emblem, isn't it?
That is where... Yeah, that's where Jimmy Page got it from, this occult book.
Fucking hippie.
Yeah, so we're working with all of this, right? Now, I'll save this for after. I want you to know this, because I'll tell my story, then I'll get into
get it out.
The skeptical scientific studies of these. This is a particularly strange story. I want to start by saying I do not, in my heart, do not believe that the Ouija board is what it's claimed to be. That it's weird. You've probably picked up on this through these episodes. I am a hardcore conspiracy theory who loves being skeptical about the things that I love. So I question things I love.
It's the fun part too. You just go deeper.
Now, I'll tell you this because I don't want you to think this is skewed by anything. At the time, I can admit, I was younger. It was something that's interesting to me. So I might have been a little bit more open-minded to it being more real and slightly scary.
Like, how old were you?
I think I was 16, 17.
Nice.
Okay, so we'll start. It was Thanksgiving, and I was at my aunt's house, which is an old house. It was built in the 20s, I think, somewhere around there. It's an old house, and previous to all this, like right when she moved in there years before this, and she's always said that she saw like a ghost, like a spirit, perhaps upstairs,
Like an apparition.
and she's really like in tune with all that stuff. So she's into it. She knows her stuff. So whatever. I never thought of it. Blah blah blah. It's Thanksgiving. We're there. She loves the thrift store, and she picked up a Ouija board at the thrift store just because she found it was like $1 or something. She's like, I bought it.
Why does that seem like the worst place to buy a Ouija board?
Whatever, she had it. And, we were just playing with it because she knows that I'm into that stuff. So my cousin and I were playing it, and she was kind of watching. And we were getting results. We were, supposedly talking to some girl. Take this with a grain of salt. I don't know how true this is. We were talking to this little girl who was supposedly murdered in the very house we were in and shoved in the laundry chute by her mother.
Oh, wow.
Weird. Okay. They don't have a laundry chute. But then talking to my uncle, it turns out they do have a laundry chute. It was plastered over before they bought the house.
Oh, my God. That's terrifying.
That was weird. It's not something that I would have been aware of, I don't think.
Yeah.
Nor would my cousin. We're around the same age, so unless he was doing some extensive, like, archaeological studies of this home. And then even weirder, past that, the very same crime happened in the town. I don't know the location. There's no location. But in the town that my aunt lives in, the crime had happened in this supposed year that this spirit told us. So, I'm freaking out. I'm like, this is insane.
It's like, holy shit.
Like, this is awesome. Time goes on. It's around Christmas time now. And my aunt comes over one day. We're just chit-chatting, and she was like, ever since we used that, I've been seeing that spirit up in the attic a lot more. And she's like, there's broken glass up there. The door keeps opening and closing. So she didn't want it anymore. She wanted the Ouija board gone. So she gave it to me. She was like, do you want it? And I was like, absolutely. I want this.
What are you saying?
Absolutely.
Like, hey, some spooky shit is tied to this. Do you want it?
So I took it. All keep in mind that all this time, I'm in it for the ride. I'm learning.
Oh, yeah, you got
to. We use it with miscellaneous crowds up and down. I mean, everyone that's been on this show has used it with me.
Yeah.
Jake, actually, I don't even know if we were.
I was there. I saw you. I saw it.
Were you?
I saw it
Are you
happen.
lying to me?
No. I remember you being at your kitchen table.
Actually, I do believe you because Griff was here, I think, too. Yeah, I remember.
Griff was like, no, I don't believe it.
Okay.
He was standing far back in the corner.
I do remember. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I very much remember that day. Okay.
It's like, it's not real.
So we used it quite a bit. Like we tried it with a bunch of different people. Every time I was not using it. I could be watching it and actively asking questions, but if I wasn't touching it, it was fine. It would work. The minute that I would touch it, this thing just zip zap zoomed around like it was going like fucking Speed Racer. It was weird. And then every time it would somehow spiral into like it would be a completely normal conversation, and then it would just start going like Z-O, 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 Z-O. It would just go like figure 8, like up and down, up and down, up and down. It was like this is weird.
Very quickly across the board.
I mean, at this point, I'm looking into all this, so I'm familiar with that. It obviously is like horrifying. So I'm nervous. I'm freaked out. We kind of take a break on it, and then we keep using it. Come back to it a little bit later. Same result. If Mitch is using it with Georgie, for example, it works fine. Funny enough, my brother did it with Mitch, and it did not work, and I'll get into that in a little bit.
Ooh.
But anytime I did it, it worked, and it would always end in the same result. Then one day, funny enough, the last time I ever used it, and probably ever will, even not believing in it.
Still to this day. All right, just keep going.
I was at my grandma's house with my cousins. I don't even remember what we were doing. We were sitting there on the table, and my cousin and I had done it before. So we were talking about it, and my grandma was asking us questions. And she was kind of interested in it. She was like, I've heard of them, but I've never seen it. And I was like, oh, well, I have one, I'll bring it. So we brought it over. It's not like this was like an out-of-town visit. We live very close. So it was, like, in that moment where I say I got it, I brought it, I went home and got it and brought it back.
Total of probably 10 minutes.
But, so we brought it back, playing it with my cousin, and it's working, it's going, the questions are going. And then I started getting I always was skeptical of whoever I was with. It could be, I've known Mitch almost my entire life, and even the second he was doing it, I was like, I'm skeptical.
This guy's fucking lying.
Yeah, like, I just don't know. It's just something, it's human nature, I guess. But, so I'm using it, and I'm doing it by myself, because I'm kind of skeptical of my cousin. I wanted to just do it myself. Never done it by myself. So I'm doing it, asking the questions. It's fine, blah, blah, blah. Then it starts getting, like, real aggressive. It's, like, telling me to kill myself. It's getting real, like, throwing swear words at me. It's kind of funny. But, like, in the moment, it's, like, now it's, like, whoa. And then, the bright idea comes to my grandma, and she's like, where is he? So I'm like, all right, I'm here. We're involved. Where is it? And immediately the planchette points like in between my cousin and me, and I'm at the head of the table, and he's next to me. So there's not a whole bunch of room. And at this point, I was really freaked out. Like I had chills, so I was done. I was like, ooh, I'm done.
It was pointing to itself.
I knew, like, you always want to say goodbye. I don't even know if I believed in it, but you didn't want to mess with the flow.
Yeah, you got to move the planchette over goodbye.
Yeah.
At the end, every time.
So I was doing that. I was gonna just force it to goodbye, because at this point I'd asked it, can I say goodbye, and it would go to no. So then I was just like, well, I don't negotiate with terrorists. I'm saying goodbye.
So I'm just gonna do it.
And I could not move it. And I'll tell you this: I'm a weak individual physically.
You're strong.
I can move plastic, okay? And it's not. This planchette that I had, okay, I could just whistle and it would move. It is not that heavy.
Yeah.
And I could not, with both of my hands, like, slide it for, realistically, at the time, I would say a couple seconds. It was probably more like a second, like a split second. But just the fear.
It being stuck and like, oh, no.
Yeah, that, like, creepy, like, fear, that it made it drag out. So I finally get it, and it jerks down to goodbye. I was done. I remember I went in the other room, and I just, like, closed the door. Done. I was just, like, heavy breathing. I was just like, whoa. Oh, my God.
Oh, fuck.
That's not the end of it.
No way.
So we boxed it up. It was actually, the thing was cool. It was, like, the big, normal-sized board. Then they had a tinier one that you could just do on your lap.
Cool.
And it just came in, like, an old cardboard box. So we had it in the box, and we just put it back in its spot, and we never played with it again. From there, we were hearing footsteps. I live in a 2-story house, so we were hearing footsteps upstairs that could not be explained particularly. We had guests over.
We knew people were not up there.
Mm-hmm. We had people, like, all hours of the day that, like, don't live here, and they would be like, someone upstairs is like, no, it's just, pretty much we just assumed it was the house settling.
Yeah.
But then one day, I'll never forget this. I was sick. I had the flu or something, and I was laying down downstairs watching TV, and it was just my brother and myself at home, and he was upstairs showering. Okay, and he's blasting, music upstairs showering. I'm just downstairs. And then I hear the water shut off, and he just comes downstairs, and he was like, what's going on? I was like, what do you mean what's going on? He's like, well, someone's knocking at my door. He's like, his first thought, he was like, was Mom here? Is Mitch here? Is Matt? Is someone here? Are they trying to, like, fuck with me? And I was just like, what are you like, I'm sick. I'm, like, feverish. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, someone was knocking on my door. And he is an adamant skeptic. So even to this day, he doesn't admit he thinks it was a ghost. He's like, I probably just misheard something.
He's a man of science, yeah.
But I mean, at that point, he thought what he had heard was someone knocking on the door enough to come downstairs and see what it was all about.
Jesus.
So that was weird. And at this point, my mom she's like done with it. She's like, I know that board is bringing some bad juju in this house. Like, get it out.
No, she doesn't have that kind of thing.
So, Mitch and myself, it's one afternoon in the summer. I think I was 17 at this time. Probably 17, 18.
Probably around there.
We pull out the board from its spot. It hasn't moved. It's in the same spot. We're going to get rid of it. So we look into it. And what we figured is the best way. At this point, we're kind of on the border of skeptical and believers. But we didn't want to play with these potential forces.
Yeah, why would you bet again, you know?
So we weren't just going to throw it away or bury it or burn it. We buried it. So we buried it, not on our property. It is buried somewhere. That's not a location
Don't go
everyone
looking
knows.
for it. Do you imagine how terrifying it would be for like a construction crew to like just dig up one of those things?
And okay, here's the weirdest, arguably the weirdest part of the story to me. This is what kind of sold it for me.
Yeah.
We brought it out. We were getting ready to bury it. We dug the hole, and we were just doing a double check to make sure everything was in there. And we, slide it out. Both of the boards are like snapped down the middle. And like the planchette, I mean, it's plastic. It's like a hard plastic, like a wiffle ball bat maybe.
Yeah.
Like that had like a huge crack in it too.
What?
And it was
you never told me this part.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Oh my god.
Because I don't particularly know how that could have happened. I mean, it could have. Maybe. I mean, we had
but
it
was
leaned
in
up.
the box though.
Yeah, the box
and
was fully intact.
Decreased bends in both of them. And the planchette's cracked?
No, they were all cracked down the middle. All three of them were all cracked. And that was just weird.
Haunted.
So we buried it,
Haunted.
and then I saged the house.
Good.
And no issues ever since. Never even heard the footsteps again. But with all that being said, I'm not particularly a believer of the Ouija board.
Fuck
However,
you, dude.
having that experience,
No.
it is strange enough. And I don't know enough information, and I don't trust science enough to ever touch one again. I just don't. I just do not do it.
Good. That's kind of where I lie, but I kind of lean more on the believing it's real to the point where I just don't even interact with it.
Right. And
it's
if
like, this is too dangerous.
Whether you believe it's real or not, I can corroborate every part of the story I said. I have witnesses. Mitchell was there.
Yes,
I have
you do.
family.
Jesus Christ.
My personal blood relatives that like my mother and father and brother.
The story gets
we all
comes up in just conversation with everyone that's ever been in your house.
Yeah, I have witnesses.
At least a couple times a year.
Every single piece of this story, and I know where the board is. It's buried, but I know where it is. I can go get it anytime I want it. So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
If you got questions, I got answers, baby. I know I got it all.
It's true. I know also vaguely where it is. I know where to dig.
But yeah, so I would say I'm still, even to this day, I'm on the fence. I don't
believe you, dude.
I am, because I see these things. I'm like, what I'm going to bring up now. I'll just get into it, and then I'll decide.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, it's kind of the respect that you have for the potential of it being real.
No, definitely.
That makes it
like
it's a tulpa in that way. Is like, even if it's not real, we're making it real enough to be like, this is kind of concerning.
Yeah, a little bit.
Where it might actually have an outward effect, like in your story. Jesus Christ. You don't believe?
Pretty much.
The tulpa? Jesus. Let's get into some of those reasons then.
So, in 1972, we had something called the Philip experiment, and this kind of gave a vague answer to how the Ouija board can operate. So what they did, they made up a fictional guy named Philip Aylesford.
Okay.
Philip Aylesford. I'm going to call him Aylesford. I like
Aylesford.
that better.
He has an ailment.
So they created this fake man, and then they instructed a group of people, and they said, you're going to run a seance, and you are going to summon and speak to a man named Philip Aylesford. And the group ran the seance, and they were convinced that they could feel Philip's presence. Some people heard knocking sounds coming from under the table. They felt the entire table shake. They saw things kind of like like, I don't know, like a draft in the room, like
Become spooky.
move some shades.
Yeah.
They were all freaking out. A couple people said that they actually spoke to this Philip, and this led science to believe that that the Ouija board is not real, and pretty much that in some way or some fashion, human beings can create paranormal experiences through our own will with a slight bit of persuasion and imagination.
And hyper awareness and senses of being, scared.
And what they liken this to is something called the idiometer effect. Okay.
Idiometer?
Yes, and the idiometer effect is, I'll give you the definition right here. As in reflexive responses to pain, the body sometimes reflexively with an idiometer effect to ideas alone without the person consciously deciding to take action. So,
interesting.
A good example of this would be, let's say, flinching. Flinching is a good example.
Yeah, okay.
Nothing particularly happens to you, but your body reacts as if it does.
Yeah, it's the anticipation for something.
Let's say you're in, I don't know if this is true, but let's say you're in, like, the military, right? You're out and about doing something, I don't know, in another country, and you hear what you believe to be a gunshot. Maybe your first reaction is to, like, grab somewhere in your body to feel if that was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, something like that.
You just react. You don't even think about it. You're just, oh my God. That is the idiometer effect.
Yeah.
And what they're kind of getting at is that maybe there is a way to do this to yourself. Okay? So, in this situation, in your typical Ouija board scenario, you have multiple people. It's a group, right? You're using it together.
Usually, yeah.
When you're in a group, you often influence each other, whether you know it or you don't. You are going to have some sway or influence over something that happens.
Okay.
Because you're together. So, with this being said, what does this lead us to believe? That maybe it's all just influence.
I could definitely see it. Like, the first thing I thought of with the, idiometer effect or something. The first thing I thought of really was, like, going into, like, a haunted house. Like, that they're actors. You know that it's, like, not real. But, like, when they scare you, like, like, people that scream or, like, it actually get scared, it's like, I know it's not real, but I can't help that I'm scared right now in this moment. Like, I can't help that I'm believing it and reacting to it accordingly,
No, definitely.
That is interesting. I never thought about that.
So, now what this has created, people are now using the Ouija board to study what they believe to be different levels of consciousness. So, researchers at the University of British Columbia's Visual Cognition Lab, they are currently doing just that. They say that the certain levels that are often referred to as consciousness, unconsciousness, subconsciousness, preconsciousness, and zombie mind. These are all
zombie mind.
These are all terms that have been or are currently used to describe different levels of our subconscious.
Interesting.
And what these researchers think is that while we are consciously playing with the board, we are either preconsciously or subconsciously deciding what will happen with our experience with this board.
Interesting.
Now, they've also done blind studies, and this is interesting because they wanted to see how people would react. So what they did is they had a test where people would spell out, using a Ouija board, the word Baltimore. Now, Baltimore, they'd spell it out. It was fine. Everybody figured it out.
The Baltimore Talking Board Company.
Then they would blindfold them and have them do it again. Not one of them could do it. So what they're thinking is that how come the Ouija board can only work if you're looking at it? Because anybody that knows the Ouija board will tell you that. It's only going to work if you can look at it and see what it's saying to you.
It's kind of like the tree. If the tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, sort of thing. It's
exactly.
Like, does this work if no one's looking at it?
Exactly.
Yeah, all right.
Now, what they also did with this test is they tracked eye movement. So previous to them saying what they were going to spell, they had them spell out B and A. And they were going to figure out what the predictions would be. 29% of the people that took part in this test, they were predictive texting already that Baltimore would be what was spelled based on their eye movement. They saw BA and their eye went to LTIMORE.
Oh my God.
Now, other people, not necessarily that word, but as soon as B and A were sent to their brain, they immediately went to other letters that could spell words. So, whether they knew it or not, at the moment of them using this planchette, their mind is already trying to figure out the end result.
Planning ahead, yeah.
It's the same way the brain works, where eyes see reflective images. So, we don't see anything the proper way, but the brain understands that and corrects for it. So, when we see things how we see them. But in reality, if our brain didn't function that way, we would see things mirrored.
Yeah, it's through the lens of our brain that we know left from right.
And this brings me back to the point earlier where I mentioned that Mitchell and my brother had tried to do the Ouija board together. Now, Mitch was a believer, my brother is not. And this goes back to the Ouija board only works when you're looking at it. But what happens if you're looking at it and you don't believe in any of it? Chances are it's not going to work because your subconscious has already made the decision that there's no way a ghost or a spirit can do this, so the only other way this could happen is by you doing it yourself. And with all of this being said, this is not to say that it isn't real on some level. It is completely subconscious. It's not a thing where somebody's always lying and they're doing it. It's that no matter how hard you believe it, whether you're witnessing it or not, something in your subconscious mind is causing you to do this. And the idiometer effect is the closest response we have, is that the way that your brain is trying to finish the thought is by causing your muscles to reflex and give yourself an answer.
Wow.
So that's just one of the many of studies.
That's a crazy study, man. That's awesome.
The most recent one was in, I believe it was Sweden, or
that checks out.
It was somewhere out there, and they pretty much came with the same answer that blindfolded Ouija boards, using them blindfolded, they do not work, and this leads them to believe even more that it is the subconscious mind that is creating the answers on the board.
Or is it a spirit using your eyesight and preemptive movements and body? You know, maybe they're in control of your body doing it.
That's somehow crazier. Now, I want you to remember that at the end of the day, science does not take into account subjective experience, which rightfully so it can't, because they are an objective-based thing.
Objectivity's the key.
So it's hard to pin down one side over the other because we can see, obviously we don't scientifically believe that ghosts are real. However, if you ask the average person, your answer might differ from what the experts say. So this leads to the bigger question of, is it all subconscious, or is the subconscious just potentially the gateway to the supernatural? There's so many unanswered questions.
Some say you got to go inward to, expand.
But with that being said, the Ouija board, as of right now, with the knowledge that we have in the year 2020, by the experts, can be written off as mostly subconscious movement. There's not a specific answer that they could give for every case, but they are pretty confident in their assessment that it is something to do with the idiometer effect and the subconscious mind. Do you believe it? I don't know. I believe both sides because
everything.
Who knows? Maybe I don't know. Maybe I really can't answer the question for you.
I am spooked out by them, and I think that a lot of them are legitimate. Dude, your story, I've been hearing that for years.
It's true,
but it hasn't changed a bit. There's no deviation anytime you tell it. Any of the details, like it's all the same, and it's consistent. It's spooky and it's unexplainable. and it is tied to that board. You buried it, and everything stopped.
Yeah.
I believe it. All right? I believe in it.
It's
the potential. I
It's
don't know
very
everything
odd,
about it.
and I
I
just
love it.
don't know what to say. I leave it up to the viewer. You guys out there, it's yours to believe what you want to believe.
Yeah, going over to Hasbro's site and pick yourself up one if you want to try it out. Or maybe get it from a secondhand shop.
Or get in contact with me, and I'll dig it up.
I'm not digging that shit up.
It'll be fine.
No, it won't. Oh, yeah. And a lot of reasons why people can't, like, you don't burn a Ouija board when you want to get rid of it. You never want to burn it. Apparently, it's said that they might scream if you burn a Ouija board. And whoever hears this scream will die within 3 days.
Yeah.
That
I
is
don't know.
part of the lore.
But with all that being said, that is the Ouija board episode.
Don't burn 'em.
Or don't believe. It is your choice. Do you want to be a Mulder or do you want to be a Scully? Whatever you want to be, you can decide.
Either way, freak yourself out this Halloween season like we've been doing all our lives.
But yes, we will be back next Friday with a hot new Halloween episode for you.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be good.
And
Probably
if
pretty
word of
all right.
advice, if you do use the Ouija board, please use caution.
And say goodbye at the end.
Yes.
Just like us in a couple seconds. Follow us on all the stuff. We are starting a cult. That was Grant. I'm Jake. We didn't introduce ourselves at the beginning. But here we are, and we are starting a cult. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also email startacult@gmail.com. There's a link for the Patreon below. And there's also some episodes on Patreon. You should head over there and check them out.
Definitely. All right. Goodbye.
I love you.